Attention bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen!
Well, welcome to the Matterhorn Yodelers. No yodels today? Okay.
No yodel.
No yodel. We are brought to you by no sponsors today.
No, not even mom and dad.
Not even mom and dad.
Can't even throw a $5 for the sponsor on this one. But alright, so we are brought here together. Well, let me introduce everybody. Or let me have everyone say their name. You go first.
Jackie.
Peter.
And I'm Japheth. And once again, we are the Matterhorn Yodelers. And today's podcast is a defense of 3, let's be kind, less desirable attractions.
One and done.
Even if.
Even if you have time.
If you feel compelled.
If you're waiting for your fast pass.
Yeah. And you're there in front of the attraction, you're like, well,
Might
I'm here.
as well.
Sure, let's do this. So, we are going to defend these attractions, and at the end of the episode, we will vote on which attraction gets the axe. The one that gets erased from the map.
Because we will. Like, well, I have
Like,
An eraser and a map.
I've got connections with Bob, and he'll make sure that he gets rid of that attraction.
Yes.
For sure.
Because he listens to the podcast.
Yeah.
We have those
right
connections.
before he leaves being president.
No, the other Bob.
Oh.
The other, the new one. What's his
okay.
name? Bob Chapek. He's the new one. So.
Oh, okay. So, we're going to start off with Jackie's attraction. Oh wait, we have to say which attractions we're doing.
That's right.
So, Jackie, what attraction will you be defending today?
Like Astro Orbiter in Tomorrowland at Magic Kingdom.
And Peter,
The exhilarating Living with the Land boat ride.
and I, Japheth, will be defending the Country Bear Jamboree. Yeah! So we're going to be starting off with Jackie's ride, the Astro Orbiters. And a brief summary, it is a spinning ride that basically you're in a rocket and you go round and round. And if you get motion sickness, that's not a fun experience. So, on that note, Jackie, defend your ride.
There's a little more to that, to the ride. It's a lot more special, I would say. It was called the Star Jet. So this was kind of Walt's inspiration. Walt kind of had the idea of taking the classic spinny ride and adding kind of a theme or a twist to it. And so that was kind of the theming of the Astro Orbiter, was taking a basic spinning ride and adding a little bit more magic, and a little more Disney to it, and a theme to it. And so in 1994, though, it did switch over and rename and rebrand to the Astro Orbiter. Which,
The new and improved Astro Orbiter.
well, they added...
You got a paint job.
It has a Jules Verne look to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great because it's on top of the People Mover. Which everyone loves the People Mover.
Oh, love it.
It's like everyone goes on the People Mover because it's like the easiest ride. But on top of it is the Astro Orbiter, which is a really tall structure. It really provides height to the land, and kind of in the land it brings your eyes visually up. So you're looking actually up to it, because a lot of Tomorrowland is just buildings.
No one wants to look at the floor, the concrete flooring of the Tomorrowland. No.
Because the future is concrete.
No, it's just visually appealing. It looks really cool as far as the design of it. So kind of the overview of the ride is you go up in an elevator that brings you, up to the ride platform, and you get into a rocket ship, and you spin around at a higher view. It's about 60 feet in the air, but it almost feels like 500 feet, to be honest. When you get up there in the Astro Orbiter, and you crank the knob up all the way up to the top as they're spinning up, just like Dumbo, right?
And you're tilting, and it feels like you're going to fall out. Yes.
You are tilting. It's very high and scary. So I would honestly consider this an underrated thrill ride.
Underrated.
It is. Not a lot of people think Astro Orbiter is a thrill ride, but it kind of is.
I kind of can go with that because I didn't know my wife was scared of heights the way she was until we got on that ride, and I was like, okay, let's go up. And I've never seen my wife is petite. She held my arms down. Like, I couldn't move the joystick to move the rocket up. She was so scared of going up as a result. So I can go along with
It's
an
a thrill
underrated
ride. Sure.
thrill ride.
It is an
That's
underrated thrill ride. And it's great because, it's a great ride to take, your 10 to, 13-year-old, the one that's like, I'm done with Dumbo, that's a baby ride. But you take the Astro Orbiter, and it's the same ride concept, but higher. You bet they're going to be scared. So it's kind of an elevated ride because of the height. But another great thing about it is it has a great view of the park. Especially at night, you have a great view of the castle if you can time it with the fireworks going on and the ride is going at the same time. Beautiful, because you get to enjoy fireworks and a ride. It's like a one-of-a-million experience.
I would actually, I would tell people to come back to the Magic Carpets of Aladdin when I was working there and tell them to come during fireworks because there's no line and you're riding a ride outside looking at fireworks going off. So I can say the spinning ride experience is fun with the fireworks and the evening time experience.
And it's also great at Christmas time because, Cinderella's castle is decked out in lights. Everyone's trying to get tons and tons of photos. But it's a great place to go up in the ride and enjoy the castle and just enjoy the Christmas atmosphere or see a parade go by. It's just really fun and magical when you're up there. It also cools you off. And another thing is, since it is in the middle, and it's kind of the
middle of Tomorrowland?
The middle of Tomorrowland, it's almost like the focal point of Tomorrowland, because Space Mountain's kind of tucked in the back. That may change when Tron comes.
Well, there'll just be two coasters crammed in the corner of the park. Yes.
That's true. But this is kind of, when you walk in, that's Tomorrowland. When you walk in, you see the Astro Orbiter, you're like, I'm in Tomorrowland. You get rid of that, you lose that theming.
It's the kinetic energy that was very important, especially to Walt. That's what he wanted to see with Disneyland's Tomorrowland. That's why you saw the People Mover moving. You had the Astro Orbiter going. So, it was always about, he had the monorail. And so it was always about that kinetic energy, that movement. That was the future, that everything was going to be moving and functioning and flowing.
Yeah, so if you eliminate that ride, you lose that energy, that theming of the land. And there's not much you can replace it because it doesn't really take that much space. Because since it is in the middle, you can't put a huge e-ticket attraction there. It it doesn't work with the flow. So that is my summary of why Astro Orbiter is actually a pretty great ride. And that you should take all your children on it to see if they're afraid of heights.
The answer is yes.
So Jackie, while you were there at Disney World when you were doing your college program, how many times did you actually go on this attraction?
Probably like twice.
Wow, twice out of how
But-
many trips to the park?
That was mainly because the line was a little bit longer. It is a longer line for a slower pace ride. That makes sense.
Slower pace.
Well, not a popular ride.
Okay. Alright.
So, next we have Peter's ride, which is Living with the Land, which, when I lived in Florida, I actually did this ride a lot. Just because all the other attractions were so long that if I wanted to ride an attraction, Living with the Land was the only one that was a walk-on.
Mr. Dependable.
And it's
right.
great because it still has a Fast Pass. You can get a Fast Pass for this ride because
It's true.
there are not many attractions in Epcot.
It's very true. So, when I worked at Mission Space during my college program, we would go down, and so we would give out, a Fast Pass to recoup the time lost. Well, the Fast Pass would be for Maelstrom and Living with the Land. And boy, did we get some response Living with the Land! So, Peter, explain to us why people could react in a way like that to receiving a Fast Pass to Living with the Land.
So Living with the Land, I'm not gonna lie, it's not the thrill ride of the century. So what it is, it's a boat ride where you basically look at a greenhouse for the most part. I mean, yeah, there's different sort of biomes and things like that. So you're looking at plants and them talking about plants. The reason why this attraction is so important and is needed and, in my opinion, actually is popular. Maybe not show it in the lines, but it is popular enough that it developed its own backstage tour, one of the most popular in the park.
I've also heard it's boring.
Just saying, it's still one of the most popular tours in the park, the behind the scenes tour. Now, this attraction opened with Epcot in 1982. Okay?
OG!
It's an OG. In fact, it's probably, if you're not including Spaceship Earth because that's been changed so many times, it's probably the most original attraction at Epcot Center.
Yes. I was thinking of
Yeah.
that. It is the last
It's
one.
the last
It
one
is, yes.
that hasn't really changed. There have been updates and things like that, but I say that's a pro for it, that it's been consistently updated, that Disney finds a need for it because Disney gets a lot of their food from this attraction. It serves many purposes. It's
How
not-
many people?
So many. So I was like,
There is a restaurant connected to this ride
Yes.
upstairs.
It's great.
It's a really great restaurant.
and guess where all the food comes from? The attraction.
Not all. There's
most
some
of
meat.
well, they have meat there.
Right.
They do their except for I think the steak or chicken. things
Yes.
Like that. But the fish,
They slaughter the pigs in house on the ride.
all the fruits, vegetables, and fish all come from the attraction itself. So going back, talking about how it's the original attraction with Epcot, is when Walt Disney was alive, his dream and vision for Epcot was for this community of tomorrow, a self-sustaining city that can live and thrive on its own. And Living with the Land is a prime example
of basically a hint of what Epcot could have been, where you can have this city that can produce its own food, any sort of food, tropical food, food grown in many different environments, grown in one community, not necessarily needing the assistance from other cities or even countries to help them provide food. So
Walt was anti-globalist, you're telling me. He was like, no, forget them. Self-sustaining, right here and now, forget them.
Well, I mean, it's not a bad idea to be self-sustaining. I mean, it's not bad, you
Let's
know?
not get into Walt's political beliefs.
So, like, something interesting. So, like, because it's been a long time since I've ridden the ride, because it's been a while since I've been to Disney World, I recently watched the ride through, and they were talking about this tree that they have. It's the tomato tree that they have. And it's recognized by the Guinness World Records as both the largest and most productive tomato plant in the world. It produces over 32,000 tomatoes in 16 months. And if you take a look at this thing, this tree looks like a stick out of the ground, but like the leaves and the vines where the tomatoes are growing off of, it's just like vast and like it's crazy.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's like 1,000 tomatoes a day.
It's a lot of
Pretty
tomatoes.
much. Like it's crazy. Like when I started that, I was like, wow. And so and if you've been to Disney World, most likely most of your restaurants have gotten their food from this attraction. Now, granted, the attraction itself may not appeal to every person, but it can appeal to young children in the sense that it might inspire them to maybe become a farmer. Because when you think of a farmer, you think of, okay, you got a guy, with his plow in the field, but what Living with the Land shows is that that's not the future of farming. That it's different. It's technological now. It's compact. You don't need to have these massive fields anymore to be able to feed large groups of people, and you don't need as much of this expensive equipment as you used to need 50 years ago.
I do like that on the ride where they show you the soilless plants, so like how they grow them without.
Yes.
I was like, wow, that's crazy.
It's crazy, like, to see the technology that they're using. In fact, like, they use, so the attraction is a demonstration, production, and a research facility. So there is actually, like, research being done here that's testing the literal boundaries and future of farming and plant growth for the future. And in fact, NASA is even working at this pavilion, in the land pavilion where the attraction takes place, to help provide means to grow plants for long distance space travel, so that our astronauts of the future, when they go to Mars or wherever, that they'll be able to produce their own food when they're out in space.
So when they get to Mars, they'll have 32,000 tomatoes ready for
They'll
them.
have 32,000 tomatoes ready to go.
Sure, that science checks out.
Yeah, Elon Musk is like,
So the size of the attraction is quite large. It's a very large attraction. They said it's roughly the size of Fantasyland, the Magic Kingdom. That might be the case before they expanded it.
Yeah.
I looked at it on the map. It's roughly the size of probably New Fantasyland.
Okay.
That's about the size of the ride portion, not the portion of it that has Soarin' over the world. Maybe if they're including that might be part of it, because that's pretty.
Because it's a big pavilion.
That's a very
it's
big
a big pavilion.
So, sure, the ride may not be the most fascinating attraction, thrilling, but it's very informative, and it still holds to the original vision of what Epcot Center, when it opened in 82, was supposed to be about edutainment, to be educated while being entertained. I didn't make that word up.
I've just been edutained right now.
That is a word that they coined in reference to Epcot Center when it opened, that it was edutainment.
And that's why all of it's been bulldozed except for this.
Correct. Because this one stands the test of time, because it's actually relevant. Because all the other pavilions, you know, Universe of Energy, like, I mean, let's just face it, that was just a very bad ride.
Yes, yeah.
For the workers there, it was the hardest attraction to get into. Because all the old timers loved it, because there was one job where you just have to push a button. But heaven forbid, you did not push that button, you would just shut down the ride. It was that immediately. So you see people with books and like, you know, and you'd hear someone forgot to push the button, and sure enough, it was a big deal. So,
but yeah, so like you had that one, you had World of Motion, where like eventually like these sponsors would just fall off because they were privately owned. Things like this. This is actually like sponsored not only by companies but by like universities, research facilities. Like there's real work happening here, and so to be able actually to like witness this firsthand, to see the scientists working, is really cool. And that, in my opinion, is why Living with the Land should last forever.
I must say, it does have great AC, especially in the hot Florida summers.
it's true.
It works. Absolutely. So, now let's hear from the Country Bear Jamboree, the ride with the Chuck E. Cheese animatronics, where you hear them clicking, click, 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 while they're singing their songs. Some of it may not be appropriate for children.
This is true. I will bring up a song that I heard, and it kind of like it made me chuckle as an adult. So, as Peter has mentioned, I will be defending the Country Bear Jamboree, which is in Magic Kingdom, in Frontierland. And in summary, it is not a Chuck E. Cheese ride. Chuck E. Cheese stole their idea, and
Accurate.
yes, and there is kind of a reference to it in the Goofy movie, and the
Yes.
possum, and it is not rickety as people. It's Disney, but yes, it is an animatronic from the 70s, and so when you're that close, yeah, you're going to hear the clicks and the clacks. But so in summary, for those who are unfamiliar with this attraction, this is a stage show with 18 redneck country bears performing continuous string of songs that total at 13. And this happens over a duration of 10 to 12 minutes. It used to be longer, but they cut it out. They were just like, we can shorten this.
Thank goodness.
It's all about optimization of people's time. And they thought, you know what? People get the point at 10 to 12 minutes. So a little bit of history behind the Country Bear Jamboree.
Let's hear it. Let's hear the history.
Boom! It started off with Walt having the idea of starting a ski resort. Father Walt wanted Mineral King Ski Resort. And it was inspired from his time going to Switzerland and going skiing and seeing those Alp ski resorts. He wanted to do that in California, and it got approved. The federal government's like, okay, we'll do this, we'll build the road. And so Walt comes in, it's like, these people need entertainment. They got to add our Disney flair to it. So he goes to Mark Davis. For those who don't know who Mark Davis is, he is like one of the creators, one of the leading forces for a lot of the popular attractions out there. Like, do you have some...
He worked Pirates.
Mansion.
Let's see here. Oh man, he's worked on a lot. I'm trying to remember now. You're putting me on the spot.
He was there from like the beginning
Yeah,
to
he was-
like when Disney was done with the creation of like of the park. So when they were doing their big park expansions, and then he's like, "All right, I'm out." And so he was a go-to person for Walt for ideas, and was just he was. You knew you were great when Walt would come straight to you and be like, "What do you got?" And that was Mark Davis. And so he was in charge of coming up with a show about being in the wilderness. And so he came up with the Country Bear Jamboree idea. And so what happened is the resort didn't come out. And the Sierra Nevada Club was like, you know what? We got to protect nature. This isn't going to do it. This is going to cause damage. And over a time period of litigation, the resort closed down, or it just didn't happen. And so, Roy Disney, Walt's brother, during the creation of the Magic Kingdom and Walt Disney World, said, okay, we're going to take these ideas, we're going to put this in the Magic Kingdom. And so, Country Bear Jamboree became a part of Frontierland before there was a Splash Mountain. And I don't think Thunder Mountain was there and when it opened too.
Nope.
So there were really only 3 attractions there when it opened. Country Bear Jamboree, the Shooting Arcade, and Tom Sawyer's Island for Frontierland. And it is an OG attraction for Magic Kingdom. Now, for my defense, like I said, it is an opening day attraction. There are only 13 remaining ones. And, you know, that's just, that happens. You know, we're going on 50 years next year. So it would just be sad to lose another one of those attractions. As mentioned, a perk at going to Walt Disney World and going on an attraction is going on an attraction that is inside and has air conditioning, because that humidity, no matter what time of the year, will get you. You'll be sweating. And what is great about Country Bear Jamboree is that it is a 10-minute attraction where you get to sit down and take in a show with a back to the seat.
That is important.
Yes, it's like, oh, back. Like, it is so hard to find benches and just somewhere that's cool to sit down and relax. And so that's what this attraction provides. It's just an escape and a place to rest to enjoy this show. As I mentioned, there are only so many attractions here. So eliminating the Country Bear Jamboree, what would you have? So walking from Liberty Square, Peter, you've just left the Liberty Bell, the boat that goes around Rivers of America, past the Liberty Tree Tavern, and now you're in Frontierland. Imagine there's no Country Bear Jamboree. You're essentially walking through what?
A frontier shop.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all that's really there besides... Oh, there's Pecos Bill, the restaurant.
The restaurant.
Yes. And then you get to Splash and Thunder.
But it's tucked away, so you're walking along here. You can't even get on to Tom Sawyer's Island. It's all centralized in this back corner of Magic Kingdom. So you have this long period of walking in Frontierland where it would be nothing. Nothing to pull people in. They were just like, oh, I've got to go to Thunder. I got to walk through Frontierland. Essentially, it's like a Western Knott's Berry Farm facade that you're just like, okay, it's just the place in between if you lose the Country Bear Jamboree.
It is kind of hidden, though. It is not... You don't see it easily, especially on a crowded day.
I agree. It is in between the corridor of Adventureland, one of the corridors, between lands, between Adventureland and Frontierland. So if you're leaving the Tiki Room or the Enchanted, or the Tiki Room and Magic Carpets of Aladdin, you'll go through and it would be, to the west of you, to the left, as you're entering into Frontierland. So if you go through that corridor, you can get there. But yes, you're right. It is camouflage. It kind of goes in with that Western frontier decor, and it can blend in with the brownness of everything. So yes,
Frontierland. It's made of wood.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Another fact about one thing we got to consider with Country Bear: it's the last running North American show. If we shut this down, it's in Tokyo. That's it. It's gone because Disneyland shut its Country Bear Jamboree in 2001 and put in Winnie the Pooh. And that brings me to my next.
Well, would you rather have Country Bear Jamboree or Mr. Toad's Wild Ride? Because that's what they were considering putting Winnie the Pooh in Disneyland.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
And that's what I'm saying.
Pick your poison.
But you can't like rip out. They have Mr. Toad. I love Mr. Toad, and I wish they didn't get rid of it. But they put Winnie the Pooh there, and so that's what Disneyland put in place of Country Bear Jamboree. So what could you put in there? Because you can't put like a Toy Story themed Western like Woody. That would be good, but you already have a Toy Story land dedicated at Hollywood Studios, and you have Country Bear. So that's like, I kind of like, you have to come up with a new idea and hope it sticks with this kind of like frontier
or just
idea.
Get rid of the Frontierland theme altogether.
And that is a factor. It's like,
Yeah.
but at that point, you're getting rid of like a part of America, like what made America popular.
So
God bless America.
Peter's saying is, if you get rid of Country Bear Jamboree, you get rid of Frontierland with that.
And you get rid
I
of
think so.
And you get rid of America. Is that what you're saying? Get rid of America is what you're doing right now? That's what I think. No, I mean people love the idea of the cowboy and the mystique that it brought of like, you're out on your own, you make the most of what you got. I mean, there was a romanticism around the world of the American cowboy. And to get rid of Frontierland would be kind of losing our American identity, I think, with that. I mean, we have liberties like Liberty Square. I mean, who doesn't like seeing 45 presidents stand up and introduce themselves?
It's fascinating.
It's a great.
I promise I'm awake the entire time as they're reading each president one by one. I'm totally paying attention.
As we're thinking, is this the time Taft is going to fall over? Can animatronics sustain the weight? So, I mean, there is an identity that is lost that I'm trying to get at with getting rid of Country Bear. And there is a risk of, like, do we come with a whole new show? Or do we just stick with what is there and what we're doing? There's also the cultural exposure that I'm talking about, America. Like, there is a country, redneck kind of music that a lot of people, or young people, and people who are not from America would be exposed to. So it's kind of like, hey, America's got this too. Not our finest, but you know what? It's kind of fun when you have giant bears singing along with it. And so I also come with we will lose a beloved tradition when it comes to Gay Day at Magic Kingdom. At 1 p.m. every year, all the bears come to the Country Bear Jamboree, and they fill that theater to capacity to enjoy this beloved tradition of having all the bears. For those who don't know what a bear is, they are overweight, hairy, gay men. And so they have taken on this identity of the country bear. The symbol of like, we are bears.
Gay pride.
This is our
Yes,
ride. And so they go in
yeah.
and it is everybody that works there, you'll see managers, they'll sneak in to watch this show because the crowd is singing to the songs. This is the e-ticket attraction of that day. Everybody wants to get in. They have a queue specifically set up for this one event at this time. And to lose this ride would lose this fun tradition. Because, with this comes the enthusiasm. And then there comes the great song. All the guys that turn me on, turn me down. And to hear 350 bears singing that song, I think it's a loss, and it's kind of fun, like, just this great, happy energy that's brought there. Because most of the time, I'm not gonna lie, you go there and you're like, oh boy. But if I was there in that, it would be so much more fun. So the right audience with that really does make the difference. So what I'm saying is that Disney needs 300 bears in attendance singing along
one day a year
One
at
day
1
a
o'clock in the
year.
afternoon.
After that, it sustains the
What's
rest.
the tradition? Think about Christmas. It's for 2 hours. We do all this, and for 2 hours you open the presents, and that's it.
There's more to Christmas than presents.
Sure. No. In conclusion, this was one of the projects that Walt even put his eyes on. Mark Davis was working on it. We have to pull the strings on Walt.
I know, it's a great argument for me. Like I'm a sucker for anything Walt.
Yes,
Walt worked on, and so I'm like, oh, okay.
Do I want to dig up and put him? Walt put his eyes on there and conversed. Mark said when he showed Walt the images of the bears, he gave out what Mark believes was the last laugh that he saw from him. And that was the point when, Walt would say, see you in a couple weeks, see you later. But this time, after seeing that, he said goodbye. And Mark knew that was the last time he saw. And so Country Bear Jamboree is part of that goodbye of Walt and the attractions of
Bringing the
Disney.
emotion.
I know, I'm like crying over here.
And so in conclusion, I believe the Country Bear Jamboree is not the greatest ride, but there's some history there that it's hard to replace it or get rid of it. There's too many strings attached to it. And so that concludes the defense of the 3 attractions. At this time, Jackie, do you have a criticism of Peter's attraction, of Living in the Land, or Country Bear Jamboree?
I must say, I am impressed with the defense that everyone has given.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I did not expect it for me to actually feel conflicted.
Yes!
Like, maybe it should be mine. Maybe I didn't do a good enough job.
This is really hard. I guess, I think with, Living with the Land, it's a great resource. It has a great technology, like Peter says, and it's providing technology for the future. And that was kind of the original plan for Epcot, which was really great. But if you take that away and just focus on the attraction...
Well, that's part of the attraction itself, is showcasing the technology, the future of everything. That is, you can't just take a portion out of the ride and be like, if you take it out, it's just a boat that goes in a circle.
No. I'm saying there's
Small
better...
world without little kids.
Yeah, exactly.
There are better ways of showcasing it other than a boring electronic almost voice.
So you're saying
hey,
a rock and roller coaster there goes the 32,000 tomatoes.
Yes, that would be a lot more entertaining.
Alright, so Jackie gave one. Do you have a criticism or something positive on Jackie's or for my attraction that I defended.
Okay. So, the criticism I have for the Astro Orbiter is that it's basic. There's not much.
Yeah, basic.
Yeah, basic. It's a spinner ride. It's been around for a very long time, longer than any Disney park. And so, like, it's a typical fair type of attraction. So there's not much to it besides that it's really high in the air.
60 feet.
That feels like 600, right?
500.
500. No, I went way over.
Clarify.
So, but I will concede the point that like it does contribute to the land in general. So I will concede that point. Now with Country Bear Jamboree, it is a bit dated and
You guys were falling asleep when I was defending it. I was looking at Jackie and she was like,
it's a bit dated, and obviously you can tell that there's not as much love going into it nowadays.
I think it's also holding back the future of Frontierland.
but it's based in the past, Jackie. You're supposed to stay there. It's not supposed
You're
to
supposed
progress.
to stay in the past with 70s animatronics.
Yes. If not, we're on Main Street at that point.
But I will say this, something that Country Bears Live in the Land have that Astro Orbiter does not, and that's animatronics.
What animatronic is
There
that?
are animatronic alligator or crocodiles, chickens. There's
Oh yes, the storm.
The intro
Yes.
part, yes.
There are animatronics in my attraction.
Oh, that reminds me. There used to be a restaurant at the top, over where they
Yes.
serve the Dust Bowl. We used to do training there, and so you'd be learning, doing some training, and you'd hear in this old abandoned restaurant up there. That totally remembered. I totally forgot about that. All right, so right now we're at the point of we're going to vote. Jackie, what ride do you bulldoze or do you knock down with that wrecking ball with Miley Cyrus singing on it?
As much as it connects to Walt, it has to be Country Bears.
Peter.
I'm very conflicted. Because I don't...
Did you come in with a prejudice of what you throw down before?
Yes.
I had an expectation. My expectation is that Jackie was not going to put forth a very strong argument because I don't know if I could put forth a strong argument for the Astro Orbiter.
I thought she did a good job.
I thought
with
she
her
did a
argument.
fantastic
I think
job.
You did a great job.
And so, I'm conflicted in the sense of, if you take our Astro Orbiter, we really, haven't, there's not much that you could do there. It's just... It's fine with where it's at. Whereas, Country Bear Jamboree, it's got that history to it, which I'm a big sucker for. And it's, it's considered Walt's last laugh. I'm shocked that you pulled that out. I was like, no, he didn't. He did not pull Walt's last laugh out. That was solid. And so...
It's amazing what you can pull up with Country Bear Jamboree documentary into YouTube, and
Right.
boom, it shows up.
Oh,
right,
yes.
absolutely. So...
I didn't have that.
Because I'm conflicted because I'm okay with the thought process of getting rid of Frontierland altogether. And so...
It's easy to get
rid of it. And so that's why I'm conflicted because I love the history of it, but I've got the Astro Orbiter there. I'm going to go against the Astro Orbiter.
Whoa.
And that was hard. I didn't think I was... that was hard. Because after I heard Jackie's argument, I go, well, there's no way Japheth's going to pull this off. And he did. He pulled it off. He pulled on the Walt heartstrings, and that's what got it for me. Sorry.
Wow. It's all up to me to make a decision.
Well, you can
I'm
make
the
it
last
tie. Three-way tie.
I think you guys did a good job defending yours. Again, I was with Peter going that's going to be impossible to defend yours, Jackie. But you did. and the aesthetic aspect won it for me, where I will not vote for you. And Peter, you brought in the learning, and this is the last aspect of Epcot that really remains of the Walt idea, and I think it should remain. And I am voting for my own attraction to be Bulldoze. I hate this show. I hate it so much. When I was there for 3 years, I went to it once and I fell asleep, and I hated the nap I had while I was in there. It was so bad. When I had to watch it this morning, I only watched it once through, and I was like, this sucks. Like, I hate this show. So, yes, get rid of it.
Yes.
Bring in a new show. Bring in something different. Bring in some people playing banjos, some live music, something that brings me back to that frontier roots of it, because bears on banjos don't do it. So I'm voting for mine. Get rid of it. I like the other two attractions more than Country Bears. So that concludes our episode of defending 3 not so popular attractions. So please follow us on our social medias of Instagram and Facebook.
Yes.
Yes. And you can email us.
Yes, please email us.
And Matterhorn Yodelers at Gmail.
Thank you. And
let us know what you think.
Well, yeah, what attraction would you like to bulldoze? If there's an attraction that we didn't talk about today, put those in the comments too. We love hearing from our fans. And so, with that being said, we bid you a Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember, before your bobsled comes to a complete stop, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember...
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.